I will say one thing. I want to give it back to you, Mark, and then see what Matt has to say. For me, and look, as Army guys, Matt will probably say this. My brother was a Naval Academy grad, and he was a surface warfare guy. I have a nephew that just got off a Navy sub, nuclear sub. So we always saw the Navy as just a little strange because of some of these things. You guys are probably too young to remember Geraldine. Flip Wilson, the comedian, had a stand-up show back in the 70s. He had this character named Geraldine. He would dress up as a church lady, not unlike Michael Myers in The Church Lady. And the famous line was, "The devil made me do it," right? The devil made me do it. If you ever heard that phrase, that comes from Flip Wilson's female character that he played as Geraldine, African-American church lady that the devil makes everything bad happen. The devil made me do it. So I think the innocence, even in the 90s, even let's give the Navy the benefit of the doubt. It's not something the Army guys would do. We have our own faults, but we don't have these ceremonies. We're not on a ship long. Back then there were no women on ships, etc. And then so there's a difference between some of these ceremonies back before it was sexualized. There was no such thing as transgenderism except for, weird places in London or New York City somewhere. Transgenderism was not a thing. It wasn't sexualized. And so there's a huge difference between allowing, and I sent you guys both the one of the clips from this guy, Harpy. He calls himself Harpy Daniels, and it's just overt homosexuality on Navy ships. That's what it opens up. So anyway, I think there's a huge difference between some of these ancient ceremonies back before this became something sexual and transsexual, and what this Navy admiral allowed on his ship, or captain probably at the time. Mark, what say you?
Yeah, well, and also according to some of the reports, the Pentagon didn't specifically cite the performance as being the catalyst for pulling the promotion, although that's probably what it might have been. But what I do think is that there is a difference between the shellback ceremonies versus this specific and eminently sexualized show. So Harpy Daniels, this wasn't a one and done fringe type of performance. This is a series of performances conducted by this individual. And especially during those days, those years, 2016, 2018, when, the woke culture was really, in full force. This is tacit approval from the admiral, regardless of his beliefs. It's tacit approval allowing this to go on. And it's not good and especially it's in contradistinction now from what, the Trump administration is advocating for, which is, hey, we're going back to what the military is actually for, which is to close with and destroy the enemy. And we don't need all this fluff. We don't need anything that takes away from that. And ultimately, to have somebody like the admiral oversee, or to have that kind of black eye on the admiral's record, that would be tacit approval by the Trump administration, I think, to say, hey, you know what, Trump, or drag shows are okay. And the drag shows that we're talking about are the ones that are sexualized, the flavor of the day, as we would say, the drag shows.
Ironically, you guys were NCOs. You knew plenty of NCOs that were career driven. I knew plenty of officers that were career driven. Those are the worst guys to serve under and serve with, because they're more worried about their career. So he places all of his chips on the woke Navy, and then it comes back to bite him. What's interesting is, and here's my premise: remove the effeminacy and the men will return. And there's an article on Fox News came out recently. Navy recruitment skyrockets under Trump. Navy recruitment. I'm all the military across the board, but Navy in particular. They changed the name from Harvey Milk, who was a civil rights leader and homosexual, right? And they renamed that ship unto the USNS Oscar Peterson, who was a Medal of Honor recipient. So you see the focus of the military is exactly what you said. What is the purpose of military, Mark? How did you say it?
To close with and destroy the enemy. Lethality.
We're not here to win minds and hearts. We're not here to bring social justice to them and open their hearts towards gay rights or whatever movement of the day. We're here to close with, engage, and destroy the enemy, right?
That's right. And it's cancel culture. Yeah, it's cancel culture in the right direction.
Yeah. This is the corrective feature that I think that Trump is bringing. People don't like it, but this is, again, masculine leadership. I doubt that this Navy captain, maybe he was a captain at the time, but now he's an admiral. I doubt he was actually all for this. I think what he was for is just placating things and not rocking the boat. And that's the worst type of man, the worst type of leadership you could have. Matthew, you were a senior NCO. Give us your perspective on this.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, I ended my career in a maintenance company. So I began as an infantryman and then transitioned to military intelligence, and then at the end, maintenance. But I always told my guys, because I always come from this sort of infantry background, and I tell my guys, the same thing Mark said, and I agree with everything Mark said. Close with and destroy the enemy, and the simple way to say that to people is, your job is to kill bad guys, right? And it doesn't matter what necessarily piece of that pie you get. So, in a maintenance company, yeah, you're fixing trucks or whatever, or on a Navy ship, you might be a cook or work in the laundry facility or something like that. But your job ultimately at the end of the day is, like Mark said, to close with and destroy the enemy. And if you're taking good order and discipline away from that objective, you're weakening and threatening the force. And the other thing Mark said, might not have been the DOD's. This might not have been the deciding factor. This black eye with the drag shows, but it was definitely indicative of the admiral's priorities, right? And his priorities just don't seem to be in place with the good order and discipline, and then the training and exercising of the force that's necessary to complete that objective. So yeah, that's probably my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, we've come a long way since Clinton's "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," right? I mean, now it's not this is again the incrementalism, the way the progressive left takes ground. It's incremental steps. They take this little right, this little right, this little right. And so here it's just don't ask, don't tell. Now becomes actual advocacy for the homosexual lifestyle in the military, particularly here, the U.S. Navy. So again, huge difference between this and the shellback. I'm glad I was in the Army when I read about some of these Navy ceremonies, but I get it. They have a rich tradition. We got a great Navy, and so I found that quite interesting. But again, what is the purpose of the military? To engage, close in, engage, and to destroy the enemy. So it shows a positive movement again, but leadership steps forward, leadership steps out. Mark,